Dear students, I welcome you all to the class of English Optional BA third year. We have been dealing with the paper entitled Literary Theory and Criticism. In this paper, we have come across the first Greek master Plato, his observation on poetry, his observation on style, his observation on drama, and Plato's theory of ideas. Then we started with the second Greek master Aristotle. In the previous class, we studied Aristotle's observations on tragedy. We studied Aristotle's observation on tragedy. We came across the characteristics of tragedy, constitutional parts of tragedy, the structure of the plot in the tragedy. Then we came across simple and complex plot. Then we studied characteristics of tragic hero elaborately in the last class. It is felt that the constituent parts of tragedy should be considered elaborately. Keeping this thing in mind, I have prepared this presentation on constituent parts of tragedy. So dear students, in this class we shall elaborately discuss the constituent parts of tragedy one by one. In the last class we saw that according to Aristotle there are 6 constituent parts of tragedy. Among these 6 constituent parts, Aristotle gives more importance to the plot. So today it is my sincere attempt to focus on each of these components or constituent parts one by one. So friends, there are 6 constituent parts of tragedy. The first one is plot. Plot is regarded as the soul of tragedy. Aristotle says that plot should have a beginning, a middle, and end. This is how plot results into organic whole. The second constituent part is character. The third constituent part is thoughts. Fourth one is diction. Fifth one song, and sixth one is spectacle. First 3 as object of tragedy. So plot, characters and thoughts, these 3 are regarded as object of tragedy. Fourth and fifth, these are regarded as medium of tragedy, and the last is manner of imitating them. So in first 3 constitutional parts such as plot, characters and thoughts, these are objects of tragedy. Diction and song, these are mediums of tragedy, and the last one, spectacle, is the last, its manner of imitating them. Let us deal with each of these components or each of these constituent parts elaborately. So the first constituent part is plot. So here an attempt has been made to classify the plot in several other sub-components. So the plot has beginning, middle and end. So there are 6 sub components of this constituent part, that is plot. The first one is exposition, second one is rising action, third one conflict, fourth one climax, fifth one is falling action, and sixth one is resolution. Exposition is the first subcomponent of plot. What information does the writer give at the beginning of the play is called exposition. Rising action means what event in the rising action drew you in the most as a reader. This is rising action. And conflict is integral part of the plot of tragedy. Conflict means what types of conflicts are present in the story. How did you identify them? How did you identify them? So conflict is the essence of tragedy. It is the conflict that enables the protagonist to act, and this is how the plot moves forward. Climax. This is often considered the most exciting or suspenseful part of the story. It is most suspenseful part of the story, which is called climax. Then falling action. Here we have to notice in what way is the action in this part of the story different from the first part. So the story begins at exposition, it moves with rising action, there is a conflict, and finally it reaches to the climax. And from climax there is a sudden turn or change in the motion of the story. It is called falling action. And finally there is a resolution. Resolution means how does this part of the story make you feel? What else could the writer have done? So that is end of the story. So story begins, it reaches to the climax, and it falls to the point, that is called resolution. It is not an imitation of men, but action and life. So plot imitates men in action, plot imitates life. Life consists in action. Without action there cannot be a tragedy. There may be tragedy without characters, but without action there may not be tragedy. Therefore plot is regarded as the soul of tragedy. Let us move forward with the discussion of another constituent parts, that is characters. Action themselves issues from characters. So action can be noticed through the movements, through the behavior, or through the presentation of the characters on the stage. Character determines men's qualities, but it is by their action that they are happy or reverse. So the action of the characters presented on the stage denotes whether they are happy or reverse. Tragedy is not written merely to imitate men, but to imitate men in action. Their deeds matter more than their character. So action is important than the character, since deeds issue from character. So character is next only in importance to plot. So it is stated that character is next to the plot in tragedy. So this is how through the performance of the characters we understand their action, and we also understand whether they are happy characters or reverse. The third constituent parts of tragedy of the tragedy is thought. Thought, what a character thinks or feels during the career in the play, is depicted through thoughts. It reveals itself through speech. The thoughts of the character can be understood through the dialogues which they exchange during their performance on the stage. So audience understand their state of mind. One can understand through their dialogues whether they are moral characters or they are villainous characters. As plot imitates action and character main, so thought imitates men's mental and emotional reaction to the circumstances in which they find themselves. So these things are interconnected. Thoughts projects psychology of the characters, thoughts reveals mentality of the characters, and we audience can understand the kind of character, whether they are moral characters or villainous character, through their dialogues. The fourth constituent part is diction. Diction means language. Language used in tragedy is diction. So here the playwright makes choice of words. There is a clarity of pronunciation as well. So what kind of words should be used to compose tragedy? It is the choice of the creative artist that he makes a choice of the words very consciously. It gives us thought and feeling of various dramatic persons. So the language used in the or diction used in the tragedy gives sense to the audience to understand thoughts and feelings of the characters. It is through speech that their character is revealed. So dialogues created by the playwright and the dialogues presented by the characters on the stage help the audience to understand their feelings and emotions. So this is how fourth constituent part of tragedy is diction. Then let us come down to fifth constituent part, that is song or lyrical quality. Song and lyrical element is to be found in the choric part of a tragedy. It is one of the sources of pleasure of tragedy. As in the last class yesterday, I told you that William Shakespeare frequently used comic scenes in his tragedies in order to give tragic relief, comic relief to the audience. As we know that audience get their emotions purified through pity and fear while witnessing tragedy. So in order to release their let us say grief or let us say dumbness or sorrow, in order to bring them out of that sorrowful circumstance, the playwright make use of certain comic scenes, or playwright insert certain songs. So song is a kind of source that gives pleasure. As comic scene gives pleasure to the audience, similarly song gives pleasure to the audience. So song is fifth constituent part of tragedy. Let us proceed ahead with the discussion of the last constituent part, that is spectacle. Spectacle or scenic effects have more to do with stagecraft. So this spectacle is associated with the stagecraft. Dramatist must depend for his effect on his own powers than on the spectacles. So friends, this is how we have come across all 6 constituent parts of tragedy, such as plots, characters, diction, song, spectacle, and song. So these are six constituent parts of tragedy. Let me revise them once again. Plot is the first constituent part of tragedy. Second one is character. Third one is thoughts. Fourth one diction. Fifth one is song. Sixth one is spectacle. So these are six constituent parts of tragedy, and these constituent parts have been classified into three groups. First three, plot, character, and thoughts, are regarded as an object of tragedy. Fourth and fifth, diction and song, as are regarded as medium of tragedy. And the last one, that is spectacle, is last its manner of imitating them. So the last constituent parts denotes the manner of imitation. This is how we have come across these six constituent parts of tragedy, and I hope you must have understood them well. With this, I would like to remain here. Rest of the things we shall continue in the following class, that is on tomorrow. Thank you very much.